So good evening to the students that have joined us this evening for a Seaside chat with the Salve Admit Guy. I am Jim Fowler, also known as the Salve Admit Guy, and so you can follow me at Salve Admit Guy on Twitter or Instagram to keep up with things that are going on campus. You'll also get some musings from me on topics that I'm interested in, like soccer and theater and pop culture. And though since the election is gone, not as much on politics anymore, which I think we're all very happy to not talk as much anymore after the last couple of years. But tonight is the second of our series of chats with alums of Salve, so that students, as you're making your decision on where to go to college, I know one of the things that you're thinking about is, will I have a good experience? Will it be an experience where, I'll meet friends that'll be friends for my lifetime? Will I be successful when I graduate? Will the university help me get to where I want to go? And so we find that these chats are a good way to expose you to alumni who have had that positive experience, who can express to you what they've accomplished and how the Salve experience has helped them. So we're going to start just by kind of going around and having each of them introduce themselves and tell you their Salve story. And then we might chat a little bit along the way. It's kind of informal, but if you have questions, all you have to do is just sort of hit that little hand raise thing that Zoom has that looks something like this. Or you can, if you prefer to post something in the chat box, we can answer questions for you that way as well. But why don't we start with Aaron? Do you want to sort of say hello, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're up to today?
Sure. So my name is Aaron. I graduated in 2018 with my bachelor's in business admin, and I'm currently 3 weeks away from finishing my MBA at Salve. I'm from Portsmouth, Rhode Island, so I didn't travel too far to get there. Currently, I work for the DoD. I work for a contractor for the Navy as a program analyst. So I help build torpedoes, essentially. So that's what I'm up to now. And welcome, guys. And I hope we can answer some of your questions.
That work must keep you pretty busy, Aaron. I know that there's at least Electric Boat has one big new subcontract that they're working on. I imagine that you have some interaction with them through your contractor.
Yeah, we just got a big extension to our contract as well. So I'm at least going to be employed for another 15 years. So.
It's always interesting for people that work in the realm of government contracts to know exactly what that means and how it translates to your work experience. That's great. Nicole, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. So I, like Aaron, graduated in 2018. I studied economics and I did a minor in English communications. And then I stayed for the 5th year MBA. I actually, though, moved back home to Virginia and I finished it online. So don't be intimidated by the fact that things might still be online. It's definitely something that's feasible. And I think Salve has a really good grasp on it, because I was able to complete that MBA virtually. And I've been working for the last 3 years now as a project coordinator for a small company in Northern Virginia, dealing more so with nonprofit fundraising. And now I am about to leave that job and go to law school, where I will be attending New England Law, and I was given a full tuition scholarship to attend this fall. So that's really the only reason why I'm doing it, because the idea of leaving behind a job is very intimidating, but I'm very excited for the next step. So.
Wow, that's amazing. Congratulations on the scholarship. That does make the decision-making process a little bit easier. Although it's interesting, I always get a kick out of when people talk about their nonprofit experiences. I think there's a misconception amongst people that don't work in not-for-profit organizations that somehow working for a not-for-profit organization means that you're working pro bono. And in actuality, those can be some very good jobs. And I know a lot of Salve graduates that tend towards the not-for-profit arena.
Yeah, no, I actually did my whole master's research paper on the like affiliations between private foundations. So like your standard 501c3s and those social welfare organizations, which are also known as lobbying firms and super PACs, about their whole tax breakdown and how really funding kind of works in that realm. And I think in the long run, that's kind of what's projected me into the field of law. But yeah, it's definitely been something really interesting, but I'm really excited for the next chapter, I think so.
Excellent. Mike, you're next.
All right, well, thanks, Jim, and thanks for having me, and welcome everybody. I was in the class of 2002. I graduated in 2006 with a business management degree. It was a tremendous experience, an experience I think of all the time. The 4 years I spent at Salve, the friendships I made. Dave and I were speaking before the call about just the lifelong friendships that you'll make. It's just wonderful. The mentors that I've had in my life because of my relationship with Salve is something that's really helped me in my career and further my career. When I graduated in 2006, I spent some time in the Newport area. And if you're unfamiliar with Newport, it's such an amazing culture, and Salve plays such a pivotal part of that culture, and there's so much opportunity. And as I moved on in my career, I joined a family business. We're in the transportation business. It's called Fisher Bus Company. And because of my relationships with so many people at Salve, we have partnered with the university. We provide all of the athletic transportation for Salve. So it's just been a really great experience for going on close to 20 years now, and it's gone by so fast. But I would say that Salve has been such a big part of my life and continues to be such a big part of my life to this day. And again, I just thank you for having me on.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, it's funny, people don't recognize just what an amazingly huge industry transportation is, and the logistics that are necessary to manage a very complex schedule of resources with a variety of clients. And Fisher's one of the biggest transportation sources in the Northeast, isn't it?
We are making our way there. There are a lot of big competitors out there, but we have a good, solid business, and we're proud of it. And it's a reputation that we work hard every day to live up to and to grow with. And Salve has been a big part of that. It's opened up a lot of opportunity, not only directly with the school, but with other clients too. So yeah, we have a good business, and we're proud of it, and we're proud to partner with Salve. So it makes my Salve experience, I guess that's just more special, that we've been able to come full circle as student, as alumni, and now to do business with the university. It's really rewarding.
Great. And Dave, you're our bat and cleanup.
Bat and cleanup. So my name's David Keeler. I was class of 1992. We were the first graduating class of the university. Prior, when I went there in '88, it was still Salve Regina College. I majored in business administration, had a great 4 years at Salve. Had the good fortune to participate in the resident assistant program for my junior and senior year, which was pivotal for me, because if I wasn't able to do so, I probably would have had to leave the school from a financial standpoint. But I had a great experience, learned some tremendous leadership lessons. As Mike said, developed lifelong friendships. My best friends to this day are the group of friends that I met freshman year at Salve, and we've stayed close for 30 years, 30 plus years. So it's going on 34 years that I've known those guys. I can't say enough about the school. I still try to remain active. I have a son who's a senior who is considering Salve as one of his options, and I'm encouraging him to give it strong consideration, because you're just not going to find a better place to go to school, a better atmosphere, and a better you're not going to get a better educational experience anywhere else. By way of my current job, I am an alliance manager for Annixter, which is a large industrial distributor that's partnered with Wesco Distribution. I've been a general manager. I've been an executive coach. I've done a variety of different things, and I really feel like my time at Salve set me up as best it could to do all of those things. And I'm very fortunate right now. I have one client, and that is Con Edison of New York. They're a massive client, and they are all that I serve in my current role as an alliance manager. And so I'm happy to answer any questions and share more about my experience. And I appreciate the opportunity, Jim, to participate. So thank you.
Great. Thanks, Dave. I want to jump on something that Mike said, because you mentioned this idea of the close mentorship of faculty in particular. And one of the things that in my 6 years working for the university that I've been struck by is just how active the faculty are at developing relationships with students and providing that strong mentorship, both in the undergraduate space through shepherding students towards careers and towards opportunities, encouraging students to do things like fellowships and undergraduate research, but also I was on one of these the other night with a couple of English graduates, and they were talking about the fact that they're still in contact with their faculty 10, 15, 20 years later, who are still providing them advice and still providing them friendship and still providing them insight into their lives, and some of the sometimes even assistance to help to understand a problem that they may be working on. Would any of you like to expound on sort of that mentor relationship that you've developed with some of your faculty on campus? And are there any particular faculty members that come to mind?
Well, I guess I'll go ahead there, since you mentioned me about that, Jim. My mentorship really stems a lot from, well, it's important is when you become an alumni that you stay active with the school. And there's so many opportunities, alumni weekend, various events that do fundraising for sponsorships and whatnot, student scholarships. You really develop friendships post-graduation. And that's been my personal experience. And then being in business, I've had a lot of people I've kept in touch with. I played sports at Salve. I played lacrosse, so I've been able to stay in touch with a number of coaches that are still there. My lacrosse coach, Pat Cooney, is still the coach. Some of the people, Dawn Hahn in the athletic office has been a great friend of mine, a mentor of mine. She does such a good job in what she does, handling all aspects of sports and transportation. I talk to her every week. But really, I would say, gentlemen who we all know, I'm sure, Jerry Willis has been a really big part of my life. I talk to him, probably once a month, whether through email or on the phone. And he's a really genuine person. He cares about the school. He cares about the students and the alumni. He does a great job in keeping in touch. He's just giving me great advice on business, family life. So Jerry Willis has been one of those guys for me personally that's been a great mentor, and something that means a lot to me. So.
Yeah, and I'll just piggyback on what Mike was saying. I've known Jerry since I was at Salve, and he's been just a tremendous person and asset to the institution. He's been a great friend to me. He's given me a lot of advice over the years. And to your point, Jim, I had maintained a friendship with my English professor, Bob Kulo, who was at the school for many years. The very first class I took at Salve was my English class freshman year. And if you had said to me, you know, hey, after you graduate, you're going to keep in touch with your English professor, and he's going to come visit you at your house, and he's going to stay over, and he's going to come over and visit you here and there and be a part of your life for years after, I would have said, no way. But he really was just one of those salt of the earth people who wanted to do great things. And I think you'll find so many of the professors just take a personal interest in the students, and they really do go above and beyond, not only to make you feel a part of the community, but to really pour into your life and help you to be successful and to apply everything that you're learning in class to the real world. And it's just a special place from that regard.
I think I also want to follow up on that too. Just I would not have been able, I think, to get the letters of recommendations that I received for law school. Now, they said they weren't going to show me, and then they sent it to me, those letters, after I had applied everywhere. And they were like, we want you to know, like, we wrote really nice things about you. And I think something that Salve does is it really fosters that community from your freshman year with those faculty members. One thing that really stuck out to me was like the level of engagement. I wasn't just being like talked at, I was having a real conversation about current events, and the professor was trying to get you to have an opinion and start forming those opinions and really starting to think critically. And I think that is so important in your freshman year, and not really something that you're going to get in an auditorium of 400 people. So when it was time for me to apply to law school, I so comfortable reaching out to some of these faculty members that I had not spoken to for probably like 2 years. And, you know, occasionally I would text them, oh, how's life going? What's new? They would tell me about, oh, you know, my spouse and I were going to go off on vacation, and, you know, this month or that month, and there's a wedding. So you start to get to know them on a more personal level, especially once you leave, I think, and that's really unique. So when I was ready to apply to law school, I texted Sam Sacco, Professor Sam Sacco, and I said, hi, I'm applying to law school. Can you write me a letter of recommendation? And he was like, okay, send me an email. And I was like, yeah, that probably would have been the right thing to do. But, you know, you just start to have such an informal kind of relationship, I think, with the faculty members, especially in the business department. You know, it's so easy to have such a casual relationship in that sense once you've graduated, that you can sometimes forget the formality of like, oh yeah, he's still like, you know, an expert in his field. Maybe I should have sent him an email first. But it's great. And, you know, they're always, sometimes they check in on you. They'll ask you what's new with you, and, you know, how's your either job search, or what, if there's anything that they can do to help, which I think is phenomenal in itself. So it really attests to the faculty there. So
Yeah, I I had a really unique experience. I was a transfer student to Salve. I transferred from another school. I transferred from Endicott College after one semester. So I came in the middle of the year as a freshman. And, you know, as I was doing, I was like, what am I doing? I had a tough time at one school. I'm transferring in the middle of the year. And one of my first or second classes was an econ class, and with Professor Coughlin. And I knew you were going to say that, Nicole.
I love her.
She was my advisor. Even I only had her for like 1 or 2 classes, but every day I would walk by her office, and her kids were close to my age and my brother's age. So she would always ask me about my brother. And my fiance is extremely Irish, so she was very happy to meet her. So, you know, and I might not talk to them frequently, but, you know, at the beginning of this whole pandemic and whatnot last year, you know, I reached out to her and he said, how's it going? I know you guys are making an adjustment to distance learning. How are the kids doing? And it was just like, we had just talked a week prior. So, you know, that was something that I really cherished at Salve. It's like, my mom was also a graduate, and one thing she told me, she's like, at Salve, you're going to be a number. I mean, not a, you're a name. Whereas at a bigger university, you're going to be a number. So your professors at Salve know who you are. They understand that it's life and stuff happens, and they'll work with you to make sure that, you know, you're getting the best education you can. And, you know, it was really an experience that for me as a transfer really resonated with me, is having professors who actually cared about my situation and helped me succeed in becoming the student I was at Salve.
Yeah, I think that's such a
And
great point. When I, think about my own undergraduate experience, I didn't go to Salve. I went to a large public institution, and exactly what you're saying, Aaron, and exactly what Nicole's getting to. Especially my freshman year, I had these big, huge lecture hall classes. I don't think I ever actually talked to a member of the faculty, and so I think people don't really realize just how unique the Salve experience is for having those really great interactions with faculty, and more importantly, the willingness of faculty to not just care about you, but to really have those important mentorship conversations about what you're thinking about doing, how do you get there, what are your aspirations, guiding you. Every time I talk to alumni and current students, I'm always taken aback by those experiences that students just gush about those faculty relationships. And that's not something you see everywhere. Sorry, Nicole, you were going to say something.
No, I was just going to talk about how I don't know if Mike and Dave, if Flanagan was Tom Flanagan was teaching at the time, but he's one of those professors too that Aaron was talking about, that I would walk into his office at because he always taught at 8 a.m. and I would always take early classes. So I would get to O'Hare probably around 7:30, and he would be having office hours. He'd be there at 7 o'clock. I'd walk in with my cup of coffee and my bagel from Jasmine's, and I would just sit down and we'd catch up on life. It doesn't have to necessarily be somebody that you go to for academic advice. Sometimes it can just be a faculty member who I think really takes an interest in what you're doing personally and how you're holding up, because 4 years of school, you think to yourself, well, I just did high school. I just, I've been in school since I was a kid. I've got this. It's a lot of changes all at once. And so I think even the faculty realize that, you're going through a lot and that they're there for you as a resource, even if it's just a personal issue you could be having. It could be that you have to get home for Thanksgiving and there's a snowstorm coming in and you're stressing about it, or whatever the case may be, but they're going to be somebody who you can just kind of vent to in some ways. At least that's how he was for me. He always shows up with Mickey Mouse ties. I don't know. He's a great man.
What class did you have in Nicole? You know what? Was he in business law?
He did ethics for me.
Business
management.
Ethics. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
He taught ethics and management to freshmen. And that's where because as an econ major, I didn't really have many business administration classes until I was in my master's program. But yeah, he taught my first year business management and ethics. Yeah.
I had him for business ethics. And now that there were two Flanagans when I went to school. One of them was for business law and one I had for ethics. And
yeah,
he was a great teacher. That man, I had him for my junior year. I remember, it's triggering my memory. We had a big presentation and worked really hard, put together a nice presentation and turned in all the paperwork. And I was a little, how do I put this? I thought that I would get a better grade than I received, put it that way. It was a good grade, but it wasn't a great grade. And I thought I deserved a great grade. And I went up to him, I said, Mr. Flanagan, I was wondering why I received the grade I did. I thought that I was really spot on and all my points. And he took the time and he walked through a number of things with me in my paper that I really learned from. It was beyond the grade. He said, this is what you can do. He's like, Mike, why don't you just make the changes, redo it, turn it back in, and I'll grade it again. And he did that. and he gave me a great grade. And I learned a little bit more of what I needed to do. And right when you said that name, I said, I'll never forget that. And that was a really good experience for me. And like you mentioned, you couldn't do that, Jim, if you had a class of 400 people. They don't make the
No.
time for you to do that. I had that relationship one-on-one with him, felt comfortable to walk into his office. He gave me the time and he said, Mike, this is what you need to do. Why don't you do this? Hand it in to me next class and we'll see what we can do. And it was great and big learning experience.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Loved him.
Yeah.
He's still teaching. I think he just celebrated, because I'm friends with his granddaughter. I think he just celebrated his 80th birthday or 81.
He was up there when
Yeah.
I was in school. Good
Yeah,
for him.
he loves teaching. He's like a relic there. He loves it so much.
Yeah, what a good guy. Good name drop.
So I'm just thinking about, we were talking a little bit earlier when we got on before we officially started, and you guys were sharing some stories with each other about experiences that you had and how you've really made these lifelong friendships. I'm wondering, and I'm maybe treading into risky waters here, but would each of you share sort of that great memory you have from college that you say, like, this was my college experience, this was the type of things that we used to do with my friends that really just stick with us, and that we, every time we get together, we tell stories about, having this experience together?
I don't know.
I'll start that one.
I don't know that the statute of limitations allows for that, but Aaron, go ahead. You go ahead first.
So something I was worried about making friends. Like I said, I was a transfer. But right off the bat, I got involved in some clubs and stuff. But starting my sophomore year, I got involved in admissions with Nicole, and probably the best group of people I met at Salve. Like, I still talk to a number of them weekly, daily. And just some of the memories I created working in that office, working on, in the rain on Connections Day, and, driving around in a golf cart in pouring rain, wearing garbage bags so I didn't get wet. And I've that group of people, I have not laughed that hard as I did with some of those people. One of my best friends at Salve, he was a year younger than me. And people thought we were cartoon characters when we were together, because we were both from Rhode Island. His accent was significantly heavier than mine, but when we were together, it's just like, people were like, it's like watching a cartoon. And I remember one day we went on a sledding retreat or something. I'm not sure if you went on that one, Nicole, and he tried to jump on my back, and he went in the parking lot. He went right over me. And we're on the ground laughing. There's videos of him and I in the car together, bickering like an old married couple. And I still text him, all the time. I get married in December, and I mentioned something to him about the wedding, and he's like, "Oh, you're inviting me?" I was like, "Of course I'm inviting you." And he was like, "I'm gonna cry." I'm like, "Honored." It's like, you're probably one of my best friends from school. So, it wasn't the kind of group that, we didn't party every single week. Our get-togethers were pretty tame. But, it was a group of friends that I could rely on to laugh. And, sitting alone in the student center or something, there was always going to be somebody I knew from working in admissions. So, it's just a good group of friends, and I always laughed. And I think Nicole can probably speak to that same group. So.
Oh yeah. Dave, do you want to go first?
Sure. Happy to share. I would say, my quintessential Salve experience was the first night, freshman year, sitting in the dorm lobby, looking around at all the other guys that were in the dorm with us, and who was laughing, who wasn't. Everybody was there kind of feeling the same thing. Everybody was a little bit nervous and on jitters, but we were all going through the same experience. And literally 3 out of my 5 groomsmen for my wedding were from Salve.
Wow.
That's how close these guys are to me. They're like brothers. And and having been a resident assistant, I can tell you that the times spent in the dorm provide the greatest laughs, the greatest memories, even though, don't get me wrong, there's plenty to do in and around Newport, and there's lots of places to go and parties to attend. The time that I spent with the guys in the dorm are the times that we laugh about the most, the memories we bring up to this day and share constantly. So yeah, I just think that that's where you're going to have the quintessential experience.
I think for me, with my group of girlfriends, so I was very shy before I got to college, and not somebody who would really put myself out there. And a piece of advice that my mother gave me was, nobody knows anything about you, just go for it. And so at the time, she's like, just make friends, put yourself out there and just make friends. So I think it was our Explorientation weekend, our freshman year, when we first got there. And we had just moved my stuff in. I had settled into my room with my roommate, and actually I had two roommates the freshman year, and we went a triple. And I go down to breakfast because the other girls, they were going to go do something else. And I go down to breakfast and I have my bowl of Cheerios and my banana. And I'm sitting and I'm like walking around Miley, and I'm like, okay, well, where do I sit? I guess I'm going to eat alone. And I see this girl wearing this hat that has little blue, it's a white hat and has little blue flowers all over it. And I thought to myself, oh, this girl's wearing a hat with flowers. I was like, she can't be mean. Like, why would you be mean and wear a hat like that? So I asked her if I could sit down with her. And she also had a bowl of Cheerios. So I was like, we're off to a great start here. And in a lot of ways, I kind of forced her to become my friend. And we've literally been inseparable since. You know, we text almost every week about life and different things, even though she lives in Pennsylvania and I'm in Virginia. You know, she's just an incredible friend, and I'm so lucky to have that in my life, even though we never lived with each other. We always just still keep in touch. We've gone to concerts together. You know, I visit her in Pennsylvania sometimes pre-COVID. And yeah, it's Salve. It's a small community in the sense that you are going to get to know your peers and really create close friendships with them. But it's also large enough that you're not going to know what's going on in so-and-so's life or such and such life if you don't want to know it. Like, you can have the chance to kind of branch out and try different things and meet a whole crop of people that you maybe thought you wouldn't have anything in common with, but they become your best friends. And I think that that is so special about Salve. But yeah, I have my roommates that I lived with the last 3 years. We actually all drove down 24 hours to New Orleans. Katie was with us, the girl with the hat. And yeah, we all drove down to New Orleans after graduation. Probably not like the smartest move because there were only two of us, myself and her, as drivers. And it's a long ride. We were really trying to go for that like post-grad college road trip, and had a great time in Louisiana. But yeah, probably that was like enough driving for me. Next time I'm gonna fly.
There you go.
Didn't cross that bridge, check that box.
Well, some good points there, and it's really hard to narrow it down to just a few things, isn't it? Just so many experiences. To Dave's point, I think being with the guys in the dorms, so many laughs, so many memories. I remember staying up late trying to get homework done, and just the hooting and hollering, and just the laughs, the camaraderie. I remember, of course, in Seaview, you're on the total outskirts of the campus. You know, you're like almost, I don't want to say the outcast, but you're way out there. And I remember those walks all the way across campus to go to Miley for the cafeteria. And you walk through all the little, there's so many little nooks and crannies throughout Salve in the old architecture with the old buildings, these magnificent mansions. And sometimes you have tourists asking you, where's the Breakers mansion? Well, it's that way. And that happens to you probably 5 times a day. But there's so many, the walks were so nice. You get to see your friends on the way there. And there's always such great energy on campus. Just the sights, I mean, just the sights alone, the beauty of the campus, that's something like the first day that I stepped foot on campus, when I was looking around at other colleges, where am I going to go? And this place is kind of nice. And I stepped foot on Salve, and it was like this, like an inspirational moment of, this is seriously, kids go to school here? This is where I can go to college. Are you serious? And I said to my mom, I'll never forget, I said that day, I said, if I'm going to go to college, this is where I'm going to go. It was a moment of inspiration. And probably many of us can have that similar memory. But of course, I mentioned earlier, I played sports at Salve, and as Aaron mentioned, it's important to involve yourself with whatever it is. There's tons of opportunities, whether it's sports, various programs in the school that they offer. But I remember waking up early. The lacrosse team it was a spring sport, but we started practicing in the winter. So we kind of had last dibs on the gym facilities. So we had to either practice like at 9 o'clock at night or like 5 in the morning. And you ask a college kid to wake up anytime before 7:30, that's a big ask. But I remember walking across the campus, and it was 20 degrees. I can't believe I'm doing this. It's so early. I'm so tired. And then we'd practice. And after practice, we'd have to run all the way down Bellevue Ave, down the corner, and all the way back down Spring Street. I remember having a CD player with the headphones. It would get so cold, the CD would stop playing. That was a real great experience, though, the camaraderie with the guys. But it's just, Nicole mentioned, it has enough intimacy where everyone kind of knows everybody, as far as you face a lot of familiar faces, but there's enough going on, and it's in the broader community of Newport, which is such a vibrant community, that it's a big culture. It's a lot of culture in that school. And once you're part of that Salve community and that Newport community layered on top of that, it's something that is with you forever. And if we go back, any one of us, we drive into Newport, it's like a second home. And you see people that you haven't seen in 15 years at the deli or at the restaurant or on campus. It's really like a second home. And that's really how it feels to me. And I'm sure how it feels to all of us on the call.
Amen.
Yeah, I think that's such an interesting point, because that's a consistent message that I hear from all the alumni of Salve that I talk to, that there's something really great about having your home school, your second family, not only being at a university that fostered those types of relationships, but to be in a town that's so iconic as Newport, and a place that when you come back and visit, you're not just visiting the campus, you're visiting the entire community, and there's so much for you to take advantage of. And when you get to a point that you have a family, there's stuff for the family to do, and that's pretty unique. Not a lot of schools have that privilege of being able to say, not only do we have a great campus, not only do we have a great campus community, but we're part of this much larger community that everybody wants to go to, that everybody wants to spend time in, which is terrific. So to the students that are on tonight listening in, I'm going to just a reminder that if you want to ask a question, put it in the chat, or, raise your hand and you can ask it vocally, verbally, whatever works for you. But I'm going to, absent any questions from you all, I'm going to ask this group one more question, which is, around mission. And, one of the things that we talk about at Salve all the time is the importance of being mission centered and how the mission informs the experience for the students and ultimately informs the lives of alumni. And I'm wondering if any of you are willing to talk about your experience interacting with the mission of Salve and how it impacts you even today, years removed from your undergraduate experience, that it informs, some of either the work you do or your community or your relationships.
I'll actually start off that one because through the law admissions process for me in the last year, while I was in your shoes sitting behind a screen on these same Zoom calls trying to figure out, is this school going to be right for me? Is this the right kind of program? One thing that I tried to really focus on, and I think Salve really hit this out of the park with the mission, is that seeking wisdom, seeking mercy through justice and wisdom. And I think, as we all know, for like the last 4 years, it's been kind of a shock to the system in a lot of ways. And so it was interesting because a lot of these law schools have, and big names like your Ivies have suddenly taken on this responsibility that they somehow feel like, because a lot of those people come out of those schools in the DC area, especially when you live in the DC area, it's like that's all you hear. But a lot of those schools were coming onto the calls talking about how as a lawyer, you are going to be faced with a lot of morality and a lot of ethical decisions that have to be made. And it's all in how you make those decisions that's going to impact the lives of many, many people. And so I think what Salve has really done is given at least me, and I'm sure everybody else can kind of agree with this, a well-rounded perspective of how to accomplish how to really accomplish that mission. How can you pull apart a problem, recognize what is important there, and really try to do what's right for other people. And, you can think to yourself, oh, hem and haw, you have to do community service, and oh, hem and haw, like this is so boring, you'd rather be sleeping or, out with girlfriends or whatever the case is, doing something else at the beach. But I think what's important about that community service aspect is it really involves you in a way, and it opens up your eyes to because you're so blessed to be surrounded by this like historic campus that you can kind of lose focus of it. And the reality is that not everybody lives like that. So something that was really important to me when I was looking at law schools was, what is their mission? How are they focused on it? And what can I do to bring what I've learned with 5 years really of Salve to my new chapter? And so I really focused in on that concept, and what felt comfortable to me, what I felt was like, this is Salve, but in the version of a law school, as far as that community building and really public outreach. So I think in that sense, that idea that, you start doing the community service in your freshman year, they make you do that. I think it's like 5 hours, correct me if I'm wrong, Jim. 5 hours of community service, and then kind of transitioning you into that throughout the next 4 years. I think it's really important. I think it's something that you see a whole different side of people, and you learn so much about the community that you're involved in. That's all.
I can just say, I remember sitting there freshman year when I got to school, and we had, like the initial meeting with Sister Lucille McKillop, who was the president of the college at the time. And as she was going through her kind of presentation, she had brought up the terms. She said, "Be your best self," and that stuck with me from that moment forward. And I remember being a freshman and smirking probably to my friends and thinking, "Ha ha, that's a hokey thing." And now I can look back retrospectively and say, that's all that you can ever ask of someone, is that they be their best self. And I think for me, And for my group of friends, that's what Salve taught us more than anything. You know, you certainly you learn the things you need to learn, but I'd be hard pressed to go back and say, oh, I remember these facts. What that institution taught me was how to learn anything. And you know, I've applied that at every job ever since. And I every day wake up and think, how can I be my best self, and how can I help those around me to be their best selves as well. And so that was the thing that stuck with me the most.
Yeah, Dave, I think that's such an incredible point, and one that I try to, when I'm speaking with prospective students right now. We're doing all these accepted student programs on campus, and they've been small, so they've been relatively intimate programs. And one of the differentiators that we talk about with the university is that transformational experience that students have, that they, over the course of 4 years, have that opportunity to become their best self. And it sounds, I think sometimes when I say it, it probably sounds like a sales pitch, or it sounds trite because I didn't go to Salve. I work for Salve. I see it every day. But when an alumnus articulates that exact point, and I've heard alums articulate that exact point over and over and over again, which is why I repeat it, to me, that's what higher education should be. That's the developmental experience that happens over the 4 years. Yes, you can get good faculty and you can get a great education at a lot of different schools, but how many are truly going to deliver on that transformational element that should be the most critical piece in your higher education experience, so that when you leave, you say, you know, I capitalized on this, I achieved my potential to this point, and now I have the tools to continue to achieve my potential over the course of my life. I mean, that's, to me, there's really, you just can't put a price on that value of that experience.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I completely agree too.
Yeah, and I would say, just to add to that point, and that was well said, Jim. I think what I've been able to really take from the school is what it really helped provide a foundation for, I guess, is just the notion of putting in the work, working through whatever challenges you have, overcoming whatever weaknesses you have, developing yourself as a person. And Salve really positioned me personally through the discipline, through the work ethic, that carries with you your entire life, whether you apply it to business, whether you apply it to your family. You know, everything requires putting in the work, putting in the attention, overcoming your weaknesses, growing as a person. That all starts the moment you walk on that campus. You start to grow in multiple ways. And I think that speaks to, in a way, the mission of Salve. I don't know if it's verbatim. I don't know it verbatim, admittedly, but it develops individuals to go out into the world to make themselves the best they can be for their family, for their friends, for their co-workers. And to that end, it has a small school has a big impact on the world. And I don't think that's an overstatement. There's amazing people who I've met through the university who, who I wouldn't have had the opportunity to meet or develop myself had it not been for being a student there. And it was one of the best decisions I ever made, was to go to Salve. And I thank God every day I did.
Well, I think that's a tremendous point to leave it on. We're up against our time for the evening, but I would very much like to thank you all, Dave and Mike and Nicole and Aaron, for taking time out of your schedule to be here to share your experiences and share your Salve stories. To the students that are listening in, if you're in the process of making your decision and you haven't made your decision yet, just as a reminder, the enrollment deposit deadline of May 1st is fast approaching. So if you have other questions or if there's anything that we can do to help you with your decision-making process, just contact your admissions counselor or contact the Office of Admissions. We're here to help you in this process. And we certainly believe that Salve is a tremendous place for you to spend your next 4 years and to develop these types of relationships and experiences that are going to last you not just the next 4 years, but really over the course of your lifetime. So thank you all for being with us tonight. Much appreciated. And I hope to see everybody again soon.
All right.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Jim.
everybody. Bye-bye.